What we're looking at here is a wood beam that is protruding away from the building or sticking out of the house. Now you can see that if it was to rain, you're going to have plenty of water hitting this section of the beam where you wouldn't underneath the roof overhang. So it's a great idea to cover these areas with some type of metal flashing like this. However, I do have one problem with this, and that is the fact that it doesn't go underneath the fascia board. If this was me, I would have ran this metal back to the next roof rafter, so another 16 to 20 inches, whatever that would be, just in case, because water on top of a horizontal surface will roll for quite some distance. And another thing is that I don't like the way that the metal flashing butts up against the roof rafter. Now I looked at other areas of the house, and there was about a half-inch gap in between the metal and the fascia board. So what this is going to do is allow any water that gets on top of the metal flashing there to roll back towards the house. Now this is any water. Some of the water is actually going to roll off of the metal flashing, but you are going to have a percentage of water that's going to roll back towards the fascia board. And if this area isn't protected, it will actually pool up and start to go underneath the metal. So now what you have is a protective cap over this wood beam with moisture underneath it. So when everything else is starting to dry out, you've got moisture trapped underneath the metal flashing that's going to sit on top of the wood for quite some time. So, you know, these areas would either need to be sealed with some type of a caulking, or this metal flashing would need to go underneath the fascia board. Now for our last problem. If you notice here, the black arrow is pointing to a spot that looks like it's wet. Now this tells us that we've got moisture underneath the beam, and there's a good chance that this moisture is going into this stucco column, and that isn't a good thing. Something else I would recommend, and I don't see here, is metal flashing on top of the stucco column. If they just rolled the stucco around the top of the column, then you've actually got a nightmare coming, because anything that has stucco on the top basically just absorbs water. You're going to have water when it rains, or just moisture accumulating on the top of these areas, and this stucco, just like a sponge, is going to suck it in and keep it in until the temperature changes, so it starts to evaporate. So I would recommend putting a metal flashing like you have on top of the wood beam around the top of these columns also. So anything you can do to prevent moisture from accumulating in an area or absorbing into an area, especially with stucco or wood beams like these, is only going to prolong the life of your building and eliminate expensive home repairs in the future. So for example, this beam right here looks like it's a 8 by 10. You know, I would imagine a 12-foot 8 by 10 just by itself is probably $250, you know. And, you know, not to mention the fact you're going to have to jack the entire roof up to replace it. So think about it. Stuff like this, I know architects, designers, people that are watching these videos, you know, these are the things that I've had problems with. That's why I'm sharing this information with you guys. So make sure you watch as many of these videos as you can. If you're an architect, contractor, you know, I've been through the trenches here. I'm the one that has to come in and replace these beams, and you know, sometimes all it takes is, you know, a $2 piece of metal flashing, and you can eliminate a $10,000 home repair, and I've seen it before. So keep watching the videos.